A'udzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Innallaha yuhibbul muhsinin. Indeed, Allah loves the doers of good. बेशक अल्लाह एहसान करने वालों से मोहब्बत करता है. अस्सलाम वालेकुम. Bio class 1031 Al Khanpur. I am your bio lecturer Kiran Yunus, praying that Allah Almighty strengthen us to forgive all, especially ourselves. Let's start our today's lecture. Lecture number 4, chapter number 25, ecosystem. We are going to study about ecological relations. What are ecological relations? Ecological relations describes as the interactions between and among organisms within their environment. As you know, all organisms require energy and they get their energy in different methods. These methods referred as interactions. These interactions may have positive, negative or neutral effects on species' ability to survive, reproduce or on their fitness. How they affect all these we discuss in detail in the different kinds of ecological relations. Firstly, we discuss predator and prey relationship in which one consumes and the other is consumed. We also define it as the association between two organisms in which one kills the other to get nutrition. For which purpose? For the purpose of feed, to get nutrition. There, as I said, there are two organisms. One organism that kills the other is consumer and he is referred as predator, while the other, which is cut and eaten by the predator, is called as prey. Here are many examples of predator and prey relationship. As you see, there are many of the predators seen in this picture: alligator, lion, tiger, that kills the deer, goat, etc. for their nutrition. This is very important phenomena as it maintains the stability of the ecosystem. Size of one population relates to the size of the other population, and this relationship that maintains the stability of ecosystem creates a cycle. Here we discuss how the cycle is created. Here you see, if number of preys are larger, then it leads an increase in the number of predators. As predator feeds upon the prey, the number of prey begins to fall. The number of predators are also decreased due to the decrease in their feed or food supply. If number of predators become decreased, the population of prey becomes increased, and again it increases the number of the predator. In this way the cycle runs. Other examples of predator and prey relationship are cat and mouse, fox, rabbit, sealfish, frog and mosquitoes, hawk and small birds, etc. Next we are going to discuss other type of ecological relation, that is parasitism. Parasitism is the relationship between host and parasite. As I named one individual as host, it provides food, protection and conditions for the survival to the parasite, and parasite may or may not harm the host. See here, the one organism is get benefit, that is parasite, and other is harm, that is the host. Here is very important definition according to the examination point of view, that is infestations. What is infestation? Define infestation: diseases in living organisms which are caused by parasites are referred as infestations. Learn it carefully. Next we are going to discuss examples of parasite. Here we are discussing an example of angioparasite. It's a tapeworm that attaches itself to the intestinal lining of dogs, humans or other mammals. This tapeworm attaches itself to the intestinal lining of mammals. Here it consumes the partially digested food and depriving the host nutrients. In this way, it lowers the host fitness. Note that the parasite tapeworm get benefit by absorbing the partially digested food of the host, but it harms the host by lowering its fitness. There are two types of parasite. Number one is ectoparasite and number two is endoparasites. What are ectoparasites? Ectoparasites are the parasites which live outside the body of the host. We have very common examples of ectoparasite. One of the examples that you know very well is the fungal hyphae that causing dandruff in hair. The other type is endoparasite. An endoparasite we define as the parasites which live inside the body of the host, and we discuss in detail its example as I said about the tapeworm and mammals. Next we are going to discuss third type of relationship, that is symbiosis. Symbiosis is an association between two organisms that are interdependent. It may be of two kinds. Number one, mutualism, and number two is commensalism. Firstly, we discuss mutualism. What is mutualism? Mutualism is an relationship in which both of the organisms that are involved get benefit from each other. See, first get benefit and the second also get benefit. We have many examples of mutualism. In your syllabus, there are 4 examples which we have to discuss. Number one is insect and flower relationship. In this insect and flower relationship, note that the insects get nectar from the flowers and they spread pollens of the flower that helps them in the reproduction. In this way, both get benefit. In the other example, we discuss lichens. Lichen is a dual organism symbiotic relationship in which one organism is the lichen fungus and the other is lichen algae. We discussed it in detail in our previous lecture in several stages, where first 2 stages are the crustose lichen stage and foliage lichen stage. These are the pioneers of succession. The lichen fungus provides shelter and mineralines to the lichen algae, and lichen algae provide nutrients and oxygen to the lichen fungus. Next we are discussing root nodules. The root nodules are formed in the leguminous plant roots. Leguminous plant are the plants like pea and bean. In this relationship, the bacteria, specific type of bacteria that relates to specific species called rhizobium, belongs to this relationship. In this relationship, the leguminous host provide carbohydrates to the bacterium, and bacterium in return fix the nitrogen and convert it into amino acids that are absorbed by the leguminous plant. We discuss it in detail in the next this pictorial illumination. Note here, in the diagram, these are the plant root and plant root hair. You note here the plant root hair. This is the plant root hair and this is plant root. Plant root hair releases nutrients and these nutrients attract the different bacteria plus rhizobium. These bacteria and rhizobium attaches itself to the root hair, where it has a specific protein, adhesion protein called the ricadhesin, helps it to attach with the root hair. Next you see the root hairs has carbohydrates containing lectins. These carbohydrate containing lectins are present on the surface of the root hairs, and these with the ricadhesin protein helps the rhizobium bacterium to attach itself or land on the root hair. That's why this specific type of species rhizobium is involved in the root nodule formation, because only these have this adhesion protein called ricadhesin protein. After the binding, the root hair curls, here you see, and at the same time the plant cell nucleus influence transcription of genes needed for the symbiotic relationship. Following curling, the root bacterium form the infection thread and move downward to the root hair and into the joining cells to infect them with their population. As the bacterium multiply very rapidly, it divides the cells and forms specific type of structures called the bacteroids. These bacteroids are surrounded by the plant cell membrane to form specific structures called symbiosomes. And these, at this stage, when symbiosomes are formed, the bacterium is ready to fix the nitrogen from air for the use of its partner leguminous plant. Next we are going to discuss mycorrhiza. What is mycorrhizal association? It is also very important relationship. In this association, the root of plants like beech, pine or heather host that grow in acid soil have an association with the fungus. Here the fungus have the same function as it has in lichens. They provide mineral ions to its partner, and from its partner they get carbohydrate digesting enzyme. And this carbohydrate digesting enzyme helps the fungus to digest the carbohydrate present in the leaf litter. We understand this with this pictorial illumination. See here is a spore, fungal spore that start germinating in the soil and make their way to the nearest root, where it penetrates into the root hair and create an internal network of fungal structure. At that same time, it also grows outward in the soil and form a large network as it spread very rapidly and covers area in kilometers for the absorption of nutrients. Here it absorbs nutrients. These absorbed nutrients it provided to the plant, and this accumulation of nutrients and this supply of nutrients help the plant to grow in an exponential rate as compared to the other plants without mycorrhizal association. And of course they provide enzyme for the digestion of carbohydrates to the partner fungus. Next we are going to discuss types of mycorrhiza. There are two types of mycorrhiza. One is endomycorrhizal association and other is ectomycorrhizal association. We understand it by comparing the structure of both of these associations. Number one, ectomycorrhiza. See here, the fungal hyphae. See here, this is the spore of. This is the fungal spore that germinate and interact with the root of the plant. Here it penetrate in the root and enter inside the cells, where it forms specific structures, vesicles, or you can say that arbuscules. Compare it with the ectomycorrhizal structure, where fungal hyphae penetrate the structure of the root, but here it's not going inside the cells, but it grows between the cells. Differentiate this structure here. In endomycorrhiza, the structure or hyphae or mycelium of fungus grows and enter inside the cells. It enters inside the cells. While in ectomycorrhizal association, it grows and make association between the cells. Another difference is that in ectomycorrhizal association, the fungus form a thick layer on the epidermis of the root that is called as mantle, but it is not present in the case of endomycorrhizal association. Next, we are going to discuss commensalism relationship. In commensalism relationship, as picture shown, one organism get benefited while the other is not affected at all, not get benefit not harmed. We can exemplify it with the example of sharks and remoras. Remoras are the fishes that lives with the sharks. These remoras pick up the scraps of the shark feet. In this way they benefited, but the sharks is not affected at all. Next, we are discussing grazing. Very important phenomena. What is grazing? Grazing is a phenomena in which many animals like rabbits, goats, sheep, cows, buffaloes and horses feed on grasses. So this mode is grazing, and animals that are involved in this feeding mode are called as grazers. There are these are, as I said, it is also very important phenomena. It is ecologically very important. There are two forms of grazing. Number one is moderate grazing, and number two is overgrazing. Moderate grazing is very beneficial. It is very helpful because it destroys the competitors and helps the grass to grow well. In this way, it maintains the ecosystem. On the other hand, the overgrazing leads the transformation of grassland into desert, because in overgrazing, if too much animals are involved, they eat the grasses down to roots. Though grasses are more resistant than herbaceous plants and have ability to regrow very fast, but the hooves of grazers trample the soil into hard layer, as a result of which rainwater will not penetrate the soil. It runs off from upper surface, removing the topsoil with it and resulting into a totally barren land. You can say that it turns or transforms the grassland into desert. Stay tuned, stay home, stay safe, and please learn your lesson daily. Stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.